Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the Open Door Wrestling Podcast, your gateway, entryway, podcast into the pro wrestling multiverse. I'm DJM. I am joined by our residency of refinement, the Subtle Doctor.
Listen, if you can. Subscribe if I let you. What is good, podcast listeners? What is good, DJM? How are you feeling? I know over here in the House of Doc, it is festive time. It is the holidays. I've gotten my COVID booster, flu shot, so I'm feeling healthy, feeling safe. How's things up north?
Well, here at the Delta Juliet Mike Media Complex outside of Detroit, Michigan, we've had a bit of unseasonable warmth that has passed, and now it is starting to look a bit more like a Michigan winter, and now I hate everything because I hate winter. But in positive news, I got a new chair, so I'm hoping to get that set up as soon as we're done recording and hopefully be a bit more comfy. And I'll have a new chair to create all of my podcasts in. But that's not what our listeners care about, Doctor. They care about the world of professional wrestling. So let's jump in, because there's a lot happening. We've got a lot to talk about. And we like to, for new listeners of the pod, we like to open up with our stock market projections and predictions. Our stocks up, down, in our futures. So, Doc, we're going to start with your first stock up. And for the stock up, it's really just someone in wrestling that you think is on the rise, and someone that you might want to tell our listeners that they might want to keep an eye on in the future. So, Doc, give us your stock up for this episode.
My stock up, DJM, was almost Nyla Rose, just because of two, promo spots that I died laughing at. Did you happen to catch Rampage last night?
I did. And Nyla Rose has a knack for just having an incredible sense of comedic timing. She is a fantastic Twitter follow. She's a great promo because she has just a fantastic sense of comedic timing. And I saw that something she said on Rampage blew up, but I might have averted my gaze and my ears for a moment. So bring me and the listeners up to speed, Doc.
Well, as you know, she's wrestling Ruby Soho for in the semifinal of the TBS Women's Championship Tournament. And she was poking a bit of fun at Ruby and her Destination Nowhere gimmick. And she said, Destination Unknown, that's what it is. Destination Unknown, I'll tell you your destination, the goddamn trash. And that popped me for sure. And on a recent Dynamite, it wasn't Winter is Coming, but it could have been the previous Dynamite. Ruby was giving an interview with Shivani, and Nyla jumps from off screen at Ruby, and you can hear her say, although she's not facing the camera or anything, you can hear her yell, "Surprise, bitch." And that popped me. So I almost gave my stock up to Ms. Rose because she is making me laugh on a pretty consistent basis, which goes a long way with me.
She's a great Twitter follow.
So I've heard. I need to follow her and get my daily dose of laughs on Twitter from Nyla. But it's not the native beast, not quite. This is going to be a pretty obvious pick for me. And you and I've had some discussions in the DMs about this particular performer. And you might quibble with me and say, this person should be in futures. But I'm just going to tell you the future is now for the cold-hearted, handsome devil Hook. Hook is my stock up. I'm buying all the Hook stock I can while it's relatively cheap, but the price is going to go up because the guy is money waiting to be printed. I've been just incredibly impressed everything about the guy relative to his experience level. And that's the key phrase. I'm not there's a lot of effusive praise of Hook, and I think rightfully so. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the American Dragon or anything like that right now. But just for a guy who's only just now breaking into the scene, only just getting his first televised matches, just a strong debut from the man. His offense is incredible. A technique extremely precise. Everything looks snug. The way he moves around the ring, very intelligent, very much like a veteran. We haven't seen his promo work. We haven't seen him sell in a big way. He's he got hit by a few of Fuego's moves, but we really haven't seen him sell. But the main thing about the guy is his charisma, his presence. It reminds me a little bit of when Anthony Ogogo made his debut, and you're thinking, the man still looks really raw, but boy, he's got presence for days. And I feel similarly about Hook and his persona, his swagger, the way he carries himself is something that you can't really teach. And I think it's if he continues on his trajectory, right? If this is the floor and we're only going to see better for Hook, the sky's the limit for the kid.
This might seem like an obvious comparison with Hook, but at the same time, it might not be. Because on the subject of Hook, I am not as enamored as a lot of wrestling fans. Yet, I'm willing to have an open mind, but at the same time, there have been times where I've seen guys that have been very, very young in their wrestling career and very, very young in their lives, where I've seen them in their very first matches or very early on, and I've said, there's something with them. Ilya Dragunov, Yuya Uemura, I've brought these guys up ad nauseum before. And I'm going to say, if that's how you feel about Hook, Doc, I'm not going to give you any flack for it. Every once in a while, I think every wrestling fan finds a really young guy that catches their attention, or girl. And if that's Hook for you, then that's totally cool. I am willing to be a bit more open-minded about Hook than I was, because we talked about it privately, where I said after his debut match, I wasn't exactly sold, because I was more sold on Fuego del Sol after that match than I was Hook. And I saw what Hook did as doing pretty much exactly what he needed to do. And Fuego, to use the phrase, obviously, Fuego did his job. And he did exactly what he needed to do. And everything came out fine. I think I'm ready to see Hook in a little bit more of a match capacity. I'd like to see him have a longer match with a little more work to do. I believe he has an upcoming match against Bear Bronson of Bear Country coming up. So that is something that I will keep a sharp eye on. I also think that right now we are seeing a lot of good work from Cody, QT Marshall, and to an extent Dustin Rhodes with the Factory and a lot of their trainees.
Totally agree.
Because we're seeing a lot of them that are really, really good, really, really early on. Like, we don't know exactly how long Hook's been training, but you think of a lot of people that have been training that are on AEW television, and they don't look completely out of place. And that's going to go into my stock up, Doc. And I'm going to say the Varsity Blondes, specifically with an extra check mark to Julia Hart. Because I have liked the Varsity Blondes from the very beginning. I thought Griff Garrison and Flying Brian Jr., Brian Pillman Jr., had the look and the presence of a really fun tag team that would have fit in perfectly in WCW in the 90s. They would have been a great NWA, WCW babyface tag team.
Like American Males, the blonde version.
But a little less, what word can I use here? A little less cheeky.
Yeah, sure.
Cheeky. Originally, adding Julia Hart to their group didn't quite click for me. But over time, I think that seeing Julia on Dark and Dark Elevation and be a part of the Varsity Blondes, and of course being someone that is getting trained by the Factory, I think they're all really starting to come into their own as a group. And the more I see Brian Pillman Jr., the more I realize he's really talented. And the more I see from Griff Garrison, the more I see he can talk a little bit. He's got some personality. He's got some charisma. He doesn't seem too afraid when there's a microphone in front of him. And I think Julia Hart really did a great, great job in that segment with Malachi Black, where she got hit with the black mist and she did that great scream. I thought that was fantastic. And I am interested in where that's going to go. I'm intrigued by the idea of the Varsity Blondes versus whomsoever will be in the House of Black as a tag team match. I'm interested in what Julia Hart will be doing. So right now, my stock on the Varsity Blondes is going up.
Well, I have positive and negative things to say here. Pillman Jr. I'll be positive on because I may have said this before on the show. He was a couple of years ago in what I felt was not only the worst match of the year, but the worst match of the last 5 years between he and Tommy Dreamer in MLW. And I didn't really think highly of Pillman in his other work, and especially in MLW. I thought, boy, here's a guy who's definitely benefiting from nepotism from his name. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't get a sniff. He didn't really seem like very talented or, didn't really have a lot of upside. But in AEW, I think he's grown a lot. He's had obviously some really good counsel and good teachers. And he's grown into this really nice role that you spoke of with Griff Garrison, who's also someone who's come along. I mean, you remember we were introduced to Griff Garrison as like a random jobber guy that MJF could dunk on during the pandemic. And he was very limited at that time. But, we're only a year and change later, and he can do a lot of stuff. And like you said, he's got some presence to him. I'm really not that interested in what they're doing with Malachi Black. This whole spooky aspects to things where it's not just that he spit in her face, but it's the mist of corruption, and he's like baptizing people and puts an amulet around some dude's neck, and it's like, are people hypnotized because of all that nonsense? I could do without any of that. But the Varsity Blondes specifically,
I'm really emphasizing the Varsity Blondes here.
Yes. Specifically the two guys, I am positive on. Julia, the jury's a little bit out with me, but she's a fun addition to the act, and of course, like I didn't actually know she was doing any training, so yeah, we'll look forward to seeing how she develops.
She does wrestle on Dark and Elevation occasionally, but at the same time, she's 19. She's a baby. So there's plenty of time to see where that goes with her. to avoid me talking about Malachi Black, we're going to move into the stock down, where it's something in pro wrestling where we're not exactly keen on, and you might want to watch for maybe something kind of spiraling a little bit. Doc, what's your stock down?
My stock down is Dick Togo.
My
stock down is Dick Togo. He needs to go post haste.
But he knows heat.
Yeah, well, listen. Okay. For those of you who may not be aware, Dick Togo, the Bullet Club / House of Torture / Garrote Wire aficionado, he is gaining and has been gaining for a while now more and more influence in the New Japan office backstage. He is part of the booking committee. So is Jado, Gedo, and Togo. Of course, Gedo having the final say on things. But Togo is involved in the booking decisions and, again, getting sway with other people in the office. So he's amassing power and influence. And he, as DJM suggested, he loves heat. And he loves interference spots. And he loves dirty, messy, muddy finishes. And so his involvement, has been the thing, or one of the key elements that's brought all this stuff. I won't say brought it into New Japan, because, Gedo loves him some Memphis wrestling, but has amplified what was already there. With Evil, and now with Show and the House of Torture. And not only is it not to my tastes and a lot of Western fans' tastes, but the thing that I find alarming about it is not to the wrestlers' tastes, and they are doing it anyway. Even the person who is benefiting from this push, Show, he is not crazy about this. Now, he's not going to put up all the fight he could because he's being pushed now, finally. Both he and Yo, from what I've heard, have been.
The listeners, provide a little context on the story.
Oh gosh, so he was tagging with Yo in Roppongi 3K for a number of years, and he grew frustrated with Yo. So Yo was out with an injury for close to a year, and Show had a nice singles run. And when Yo came back, the story was that he wasn't fully back. All his limitations were not gone. He might not have been fully healthy, or Show may have even surpassed him while he was wrestling and Yo was on the shelf. And during the junior tag team tournament, Yo would take all the falls, Show would get all the pins, and finally Show became fed up and turned on Yo and said, forget you. You're not worth my time anymore. I'm going to join the Bullet Club, and we're going to form this little sub-faction, me, Evil, Yujiro, and Dick Togo. And we're going to be the house.
Baby!
Yeah, right. Definitely, the complete fit for the House of Torture, Yujiro Takahashi.
Hey, if you're into that sort of thing.
Right. So this is where we are. And Show is now being pushed as a singles competitor. Finally, he and Yo both wanted this for a while. But he's being pushed on the back of all this interference and heat and everything that the House of Torture is. And this is the brainchild of Dick Togo. And, like I was saying, even he would like to dial it back. But, he's sometimes unsuccessful. Sometimes he is successful. Shingo Takagi, the IWGP World Champion, has had to lobby to get these spots taken out or reduced. This past week, the 15th, I believe, was the Best of the Super Junior final. And it was Yo against Hiromu Takahashi. And if you've seen the match, there was a ton of interference in it. from Sho and Dick Togo and Ishii. And like Hiromu tried his best to get that out. He was really upset. Irate was the word I've heard used that when he found out about this.
This is according to a report from Fightful. Is that right?
Voices of Wrestling. Yeah, Joe Lanza, Voices of Wrestling. They have, over the years, to me, proven that they have really good sources inside New Japan Pro Wrestling Company. Got a report on this and a few other things, like Wrestle Kingdom matches sort of a day before they were announced. But yeah, Hiromu was irate, and his request to have this stuff taken out was denied. So I think this is like a troubling thing. And like I have argued in the past on the show, it's a little opaque to me how the Japanese fan feels about it, because, you know, it's hard to judge ticket sales based on the arena limitations. I've heard merchandise was down this year, but again, it's hard to correlate these things. I think we'll know for sure when arenas can be full and when crowds can make noise. Then we'll have some more empirical evidence and indicators how people are feeling about this. But for me, DJM, this is nothing but worrying.
I'm inclined to agree. I wonder just what's going to happen with everything that isn't the IWGP Championship, because that is really just a mess. Doc, there's a lot in New Japan Pro Wrestling recently that just feels all over the place. And I don't want to put it entirely on Dick Togo, but I do remember that Gedo has been in charge of the creative direction of New Japan Pro Wrestling for a long time. And I'm wondering if there's a certain point where, like any wrestling booker, you eventually just kind of burn out. That's kind of what I've been wondering all of 2021 with Gedo, if he's just kind of burning out. And if it's looking like Dick Togo is going to be taking more of a power position in the creative direction of New Japan, I don't know if that's good for anybody.
I would agree. I really, really worry because, I mean, this promotion for me is very special. It helped me get back into professional wrestling when I was just out on it. It played the role I think that Ring of Honor played for a number of people like a decade and change earlier.
Hi, everybody.
Yep. There he is. But for me in the 2010s, it was New Japan, and to see it unraveling is very disheartening. I mean, business wise, they're fine, and you know, just like the Gedo golden years, passed. This too will pass eventually, but I just hope that too much damage is not done, and that's, I don't know. I hope nobody leaves, because I mean, I know Japanese wrestling culture is different, and loyalty is a whole different thing, but I don't know. This has got me thinking some crazy things. I mean, Wrestle Kingdom, if not for the joint Noah show, this would be like the least excited I've been about a Wrestle Kingdom since I started following the product.
I don't think you're alone on that. And we're going to talk about that joint show with Noah and New Japan later on. But I'm going to talk about my stock down, and it's actually pretty close to yours, Doc. It's actually very, very close. Would you venture to take a guess of who my stock down is? That's your hint. It's actually very close to yours.
Or were you going to say Gedo?
No.
Okay.
Same idea, different promotion.
Not not the conster, not the con man.
No. I'm talking about Tajiri.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Okay, beautiful.
my stock is down on Yoshihiro Tajiri. And I've talked a little bit about this on previous podcasts when he showed up in MLW and won one of their championships. I was kind of like, really? Like 50-something-year-old Tajiri in 2021? Really? That's what you're going to do, MLW? That's what you're doing? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Tajiri. So reports coming out of All Japan Pro Wrestling, and all signs are pointing to Tajiri, who is part of the management side of All Japan right now. All signs have pointed to him not being very well liked as a part of management in All Japan Pro Wrestling. And since the departure of Jun Akiyama, there's been a real vacuum at the top of the offices of All Japan Pro Wrestling. And it seems like Tajiri has been trying to fill that void. And there are performers that are leaving All Japan. From what I can tell, Doc, you can expand on this. It seems like, along with talent leaving, attendance, conversations, social media, with All Japan Pro Wrestling, it's been a bit stagnant and it's been a bit dry. And it's kind of been like this since Doc and I did a podcast in a past life together, where it seems like All Japan Pro Wrestling just can't get out of its own way. But here's the thing with Tajiri, Doc, that I want to bring up to people. Way back in 2010, Tajiri tried to start a promotion in Japan called Smash. It flopped and went out of business in 2 years. In 2012, Tajiri tried starting a promotion called Wrestling New Classic. It flopped and went out of business in 2 years. So I'm hearing that Tajiri made his way into a management position in All Japan and might be involved creatively. And seeing that over the years, he really hasn't shown himself to be very apt for it at all, it really makes me wonder what New Japan was thinking. Because I remember Smash. I remember Wrestling New Classic and how they flopped completely. And yeah, I don't know how Tajiri got into this position because he's never been very good at it. And once again, All Japan Pro Wrestling is just kind of going nowhere.
It's true. So they also have kind of a triumvirate, from what I understand. The head booker, Shuji Ishikawa. Suwama is also in a prominent position, although I don't think he's directly involved with creative. And then you have Tajiri, pardon me, who is also booking. And yeah, I mean, pardon me, DJ. I said I got the flu vaccine. Look, I'm coughing all over the place. Tajiri is directly responsible for driving off talent. I mean, there are quotes out there. Of course, I don't think anybody put their name to them, but people are saying in the locker room that they hate Tajiri, that they're very frustrated with the way he's running things. And, you know, you mentioned Jun Akiyama leaving about 6 months or so after one of his best friends, Atsushi Aogi, died in a motorcycle accident. And, you know, then he stepped down. That hit him pretty hard. And the company, we thought, maybe plateaued a little bit at the time because they hadn't created a rival for Kento Miyahara. And we were thinking, okay, maybe this new regime will focus and do that. But it just doesn't seem to be the case. And they seem to be running off their young talent at a time when All Japan should really be doing better. You know, they should be benefiting from like the Wrestle One. You know, speaking of promotions dying, right? Keiji Budo's Wrestle One last year went away. And they All Japan got a huge influx of talent from them, and that combined with the roster they had seemed like enough to do well. But last at the end of 2020, Yusuke Okada left to go to DDT to be with Jun Akiyama, and now this year you have Koji Iwamoto, a very skilled junior heavyweight. Like, he's kind of carried their junior division for a lot of the year. He had a little feud with Shima, which I thought was quite good. He is saying he wants to just take a break from wrestling for like a year. And then you have someone that you might be more familiar with, Nomura Naoya. I think he faced Kento on the show that we reviewed back in another lifetime, as you put it. And he was a rising star. He was someone who people thought could be that rival for Kento, but he's had some injury problems, and he's saying he's leaving soon, and that could be for health reasons. But those 3 departures in the last 12 months, combined with Zeus leaving, Zeus has been asked to take over management for Osaka Pro Wrestling. So he won't be, I don't think, a full-timer in All Japan anymore. He'll have his office duties at Osaka Pro. So they're losing a lot of like talent that was in prominent positions, and Tajiri is the cause of a lot of it, directly or indirectly. The only people that are said to like him are the people that have come over from Wrestle One, but the guys that came up under Akiyama just are not happy with the management there, and with the state that All Japan is in, their business and stuff, like, this just does not bode well at all for the company.
Is there a fix for this? Because I feel like we've talked about this with All Japan Pro Wrestling specifically for years. Is there a fix for this? Can they find something?
It's hard to say, until they do it and we look back and we're like, in hindsight, this is the thing, right? They have they've crowned Jake Lee. He finally achieved he finally won the Triple Crown Championship. They've converted him into a heel, a dirtbag cheating heel. So he's not out there to wrestle epics like Kento Miyahara. But you wonder if that's too little too late. I don't know if the fix is to put your young stars on a 6-month fast track to the top. I don't know if you want to give the title back to Kento to hold for a while to try to stabilize things. I don't know. this is why I do not own a wrestling company, because when it comes down to it, in situations like this, I'm like, what do you do?
Let me throw something out there.
Yeah, hit me. What's your idea?
Maybe All Japan Pro Wrestling needs to do something. I like your idea of putting the title back on Kento Miyahara, because he is someone that has some name value.
Yeah.
I remember that there was a time, and I remember specifically during the Yuji Nagata era of New Japan, and they really leaned into, with Nagata and also with Hiroyoshi Tenzan during this time, they really leaned into allowing their top stars to compete with outside talent. And I feel like right now, All Japan Pro Wrestling has to do something to get some buzz. And I feel like maybe Kento Miyahara needs to go on like a world tour of sorts and have the Triple Crown title be like an open challenge. Or maybe he needs to go to like the New Japan Cup or something, or maybe the next big Noah singles tournament. I feel like the big problem with All Japan right now is that too few people know how good their talent is.
Yeah.
And if Kento Miyahara is their ace, and he is, it might be on him to go out there carrying the flag of All Japan Pro Wrestling, maybe even bringing back the old school Triple Crown Championship, just to get people's eyes on All Japan and get people to remember what All Japan Pro Wrestling is, especially since 2022 is going to be the 50th anniversary of both Zen Nihon and Shin Nihon. It's going to be the 50th anniversary of both promotions. I feel like this is something going into 2022 that they might need to lean on. They might need to use Kento Miyahara to be sort of what Tanahashi was. He might just have to pull All Japan out of the darkness just by sheer force of will.
That is a great idea. This is, like you said, is a perfect opportunity to dip their toe in those waters, because you have to figure they're gonna do some kind of joint show with New Japan this year. New Japan has said they want to do stuff with other promotions. I feel like if they were going to do it, they would have to keep the title off him, so as to just, I don't know, not muddy the political waters around this so much, which is unfortunately, the reality of why this doesn't happen more often. But you could imagine,
we're going to talk about with the joint show later.
Yeah. But you could imagine, right? Like, it will be so, talk about getting good heat. Like, imagine Kento with literally the All Japan flag waving around, like walking into New Japan country or a Pro Wrestling Noah show to wrestle. I mean, man, it would be so cool. It'd be such good symmetry. In 2017, when he was the champ, Naomichi Marufuji, when Kento Miyahara was the champ, Marufuji won the Champion Carnival. And so you have this Pro Wrestling Noah outsider coming into All Japan country, challenging for their top title. Imagine if it was flipped, and you have Miyahara going into invading their ground to wrestle Marufuji.
Kento Miyahara winning the N1.
Oh my god, it would be so cool! Like a final versus Kano or something.
Winning the New Japan Cup. Like, how cool would that be? Or even just making it to the finals.
Yes, it would be incredible.
As you'll hear on other radio shows, that's heat.
Yeah, this is a great idea. They should definitely they should try this immediately. Do you think Shajiri's listening? Do you think he'll go for this?
Well, he better be. It's not like he's doing much of a better job with anything else.
Come on, Suwama, make it happen.
Seriously, Suwama, you know I love you. The OG ace. I would love to see that. He knows what's up. Suwama knows what's up. That might be the show title. Suwama knows what's up.
Suwama does know what's up.
Okay, so real quickly, Doc, we'll talk about our future stocks. The things that we're looking ahead to. Maybe a few years down the line where we think might be a big deal. Doc, who is your future stock? Who are you investing in?
Well, I'm going to cheat here, and I'm going to do the same pick that I did from the bonus episode, because people might not have listened to that, including yourself. So I want to clue you in on this as well. I did an all Joshi stock report on the bonus episode, and my future pick then, as it is now, is Yuki Arai for Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling. She is a member of the idol group SKE48.
Yes, her. Okay.
So she's got some marketability going on.
She was a guest at a few Noah shows, if I remember right.
Okay. Possibly. I haven't seen. But that wouldn't surprise me, right? Because, cyber agent here, owning both companies. But Yuki Arai began her wrestling career in May of 2021. So, very, very raw, fresh talent here. And if you look at her debut, she shows it. But fast forward 6 months and you look at her matches in November, December, boy, she has just come along so far, so fast. She looks tremendous in the ring, and she doesn't have one of the things that I usually judge in-ring ability by. She's not like really a speedster, right? She's not doing her stuff very, very fast. She doesn't hit the ropes fast and hard, but her ring presence, like, she's never out of place. She never runs out of ideas. She had this like 15-minute match with Rika Tatsumi, a well-established talent, this past Thanksgiving. And, you know, she carried her part of the bargain and never seemed to run out of ideas for offense. Her offense looked great. And her selling, DJM, holy cow, she's fantastic. Like, facial expressions, body language, bumps, fantastic seller. She, yesterday, I haven't got to watch it yet, but Tokyo Joshi was doing an event at Nagoya Castle, and the featured match was this non-title match. You know, the ace of the promotion, Miyu Yamashita, was going up against Yuki Arai. And just that they would showcase her in this way 6 months into her career is really awesome. Tokyo Joshi has a lot of rookies that are at different kind of spots on the spectrum in terms of their talent. Like they're featuring a lot of new ladies. But Yuki Arai, I'm a huge believer in. I think you should definitely check out that match with Tatsumi. I think you'll be impressed.
Okay. I have a futures that I don't know if I've mentioned him before or if you've mentioned him before, Doc, because I feel like he's come up on this podcast before. So maybe we're giving our listeners a reminder. But I've seen this guy's name come up as one of the hot rising stars in independent wrestling. He's a third-generation talent, and I believe he's only 17, but he's really gaining a lot of buzz. Have we talked about Nick Wayne?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Starboy Charlie.
No.
We have not talked about Nick Wayne.
Okay, Nick Wayne. He is getting a lot of buzz out of the Pacific Northwest. He's recently had matches with Lee Moriarty and Joey Janela, and coming out of Defy Wrestling, Nick Wayne seems to be a really talented but really, really young athletic high flyer. And if he's already having matches with someone like Joey Janela, I'm imagining that he's probably got something, because Joey's known for having an eye for talent. And it tells me that this young man, Nick Wayne, he might have something coming out of the Pacific Northwest. He might be one of those guys to keep an eye on, because Defy Pro Wrestling out in Washington, they're really high on him. He's really young, but really athletic. And he seems to be getting it. He's wrestling veterans who are asking for him. He's now only recently starting to work for GCW. So clearly Nick Wayne has something. So my futures is on Nick Wayne from Defy.
Awesome. So we should look for him in a prominent spot at Mania weekend then.
Possibly.
You would hope.
I would definitely say he'll be on at least one show, but at the same time, he's very, very young, so it's not totally out of possibility. Then again, in Mexico and Japan, they start training as tweens, so
right,
it's entirely possible.
So I'll have to look up some GC dub with Nick Wayne. I'll check that out for sure.
Okay, that was Yuki Arai.
Yes, Yuki Arai.
All right. So
she won the Tokyo Sports Rookie of the Year, and I was like, oh, I had it in my like, I was gonna do that pick weeks ago, and then and then I would be like, I was right.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the Tokyo Sports results?
We can. I don't have them in front of me, but hit me with your takes on those.
Give me a second to double check to make sure that I pull this up because as it stood, the 2021 Tokyo Joshi Pro results, Shingo Takagi won Wrestler of the Year, MVP, which
well deserved.
I think both of us have been trumpeting that on the podcast here, that Shingo has absolutely killed it in 2021.
Not only has he killed
deserved.
he's killed it, and he's been like the only person, I think, among all the like tippy top talents that has managed to put together an entire year of quality stuff. Like, you have a lot of people that have had good half years, good quarters, and they had injury or they weren't pushed or whatever, but like Shingo has been doing great stuff all year long.
Now, the best bout award.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now, these awards, man.
New listeners of the show, full disclaimer. Doc and I love Pro Wrestling Noah. My love of Pro Wrestling Noah is more of a legacy love. I love like the entire history of Pro Wrestling Noah because I have an affinity for old Japanese heavyweights and the later generation of Japanese heavyweights. So this Best Bout Award, I did not see this coming. Despite the fact that I like Keiji Muto, even in his advanced age, and I'm a big trumpeter for Go Shiozaki. Go is Noah. Sorry, Doc. But the fact that Go Shiozaki versus Keiji Muto won the Best Bout Award, that really threw me for a loop. Doc, I know it must have threw you for an even bigger loop than it did for me.
It did in some ways, but then I remembered it's the Tokyo Sports Awards. Like, not to sound, all Joe Rogan on you here, but like, it's very sort of everyone gets a participation trophy kind of deal. Like, if your guy doesn't win Wrestler of the Year or MVP or whatever, expect that they'll win some other award, like Best Technique or Best Bout or whatever. They spread the love around. Usually they'll give the tippy top award to like the best guy, but yeah, I don't know. It didn't. So are you saying that there were far more deserving bouts in Pro Wrestling Noah? Because I would agree with that assessment.
Of all of the great heavyweight championship and main event level matches that Noah had this year, and in my opinion, they had quite a few. Any combination of Masato Tanaka, Keno, Katsuhiko Nakajima, yes, Naomichi Marufuji, any combination of those four guys all had exceptional contests in 2021. And Go as well, even though he was out most of the year. So that was the match they chose.
It's a weird one.
It's a weird choice.
It's a very odd choice. I mean, why? What do you think? do you think it's placating Muto and the Muto people?
Why would Tokyo Sports do that?
I have no idea.
Tokyo Sports do that.
I do know that they like to get involved in the kayfabe pushing of the storylines and everything, but I can't tell you. I have no clue. I mean, maybe they want to like help let the world know Go Shiozaki is back. I don't know.
Good for them.
I don't know. It is a really odd choice. I mean, not that the match was like straight up bad, because it's not a bad match, but like you said, I mean, gosh, there's just even
there were like several better matches.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Starting in like the later half of the year, like August or so going forward, there have been, like, I would say all the title matches have been superior. So yeah, I am as flummoxed as you here, like why this is the case. I don't know. Maybe the people there have some long time relationship or affinity with Muto. Couldn't tell you.
Yes. Now, the best, the Outstanding Performance and Fighting Spirit Awards, which are kind of like the consolation prizes, I guess. The outstanding performance went to Jake Lee of All
Yes.
Japan,
Mhm.
which, no argument, that's fine. Fighting Spirit, for me, which was a pleasant surprise, went to DDT's Konosuke Takeshita of DDT.
Well
That was a
deserved.
pleasant surprise. Well deserved. I agree. He's been great. Everything I've seen of him, he's great. I guess I'm still used to DDT kind of being sort of this small, trashy indie, and I forget that they've really grown in recent years. So seeing Konosuke recognized like this was pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, he's had a tremendous year. Like, gosh, just like go look up his stuff with Jun Akiyama or with Yuki Ueno more recently. You know, he had a great some tournaments this year. He was really good in. Oh gosh, who did he wrestle in the most recent Dio? The outsider Yuji Okabayashi from Big Japan. That match was tremendous. Definitely would say go out of your way to check that one out. Takeshita versus Okabayashi. Yeah, I am with you. Like, it's easy to forget that, you know, the promotion that like set fireworks off from Michael Nakazawa's asshole, like is like still like is owned by like this huge company that owns Noah and like owns so many different promotions, has so much clout behind them now. It's wild, man. They're the journey that they've been on. I don't know if like they sort of the mass of cyber fight promotions has sort of surpassed Dragon Gate in terms of like influence or not influence, but like recognizability and like drawing, like money, like all that sort of stuff. But that'd be interesting to know if you know if people would do the research on that. It'd be cool to find out because yeah, they're a big deal now.
Technique Award, which I guess since they didn't want to give 2 awards to Zack Sabre Jr., they gave it to the Great Okan.
A weird one. Because
thank God. I'm so glad you said that.
Because listen, I love Oka. You know that. And you have grown in your appreciation of the guy. Not known for his technique. He's a very unorthodox kind of guy. Very I don't want to say sloppy, but like he's not a sort of precise wrestler. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Like Shingo is a bruiser. He's a heavyweight. Mm-hmm. So the comparison I would make with him is with Okan is Shingo. So when I saw Best Technique Award, it was very, very puzzling. But I think you could probably give that to somebody like Nakajima or Keno. But hey, whatever. That was a weird one. Best Tag Team Award, Dangerous Techers. No argument there. No argument. Best Newcomer Award, the aforementioned Yuki Arai.
Yay.
Women's Wrestling Grand Prize going to Utami Hayashishita from Stardom.
Oh, yes.
No argument. No argument there.
Been the top gal there for a year and been wrestling New Japan style main events. Like really, like it had some matches. Her match with Shiri this summer really broke through the Joshi bubble and like got to people like Meltzer and other kind of mainstream people. And he gave it like 4.5, 4 3/4 stars, something like that. Like, so yeah, she's been awesome for Stardom.
And the Achievement Award, I'm not too familiar with this one. Rumi Kazuma.
Oh yeah, no, that one I don't know. I don't know either. You say Rumi Kazuma?
Rumi Kazuma.
Well, no, that's a new one on me. I'm not sure. Yeah.
We'll look into that one and we'll come back to it. So let's jump into the rest of the stories we have for the podcast.
Oh, I think is it because I think maybe she passed away and she's sort of a legacy, like an older wrestler, and they're recognizing her achievement after she passed away.
All right. Okay. All right, well, that makes a lot more sense. We can jump into the rest of the stories now. And we're going to start with All Elite Wrestling. Winter is coming. This show aired just a few days ago on TNT, which was highlighted by an AEW World Championship match between Hangman Adam Page and the American Dragon Bryan Danielson. I watched this match live. It ended in a 60-minute time limit draw. Doc, have you caught this match?
Oh, I have caught it twice, my friend. Yes, very caught.
Me too. Whew! This was some good pro wrestling.
Oh, it was amazing. I think it's like the best match of Hangman's career. I admittedly haven't seen everything the man has done. You know, I've seen all of his AEW stuff. I've seen the part of his New Japan career in which he was being pushed and taken seriously, and some stuff concurrently there with Ring of Honor. So I've seen a fair bit of Hangman, and this was like the singles match of his career, I'll say. You know, if you want to quibble and say like Kenny and Hangman versus the Bucks is superior, I won't fight you too hard on that. But this was an incredible match. And I think the American Dragon deserves the lion's share of the credit for this one. Again, this is the best match of Hangman's career. He was amazing. He did his part. But holy shit, David. Bryan Danielson, like, he was in his element. Like, he was a pig in slop in this match. He was, like, just loving it. And I haven't seen a 60-minute match in... apart from the stuff in Noah, where, like, I haven't seen one in a while where the participants made every moment count, and there were these distinct phases of the match, and there was a clear linear story, and they didn't go back on any of it. They didn't reuse ideas they'd already done. Everything made sense. This match was like so good. Just really caught me up in it, right? And, you know, I think it caught a lot of people up because the TV ratings for it grew as the match went on. I mean, it was so compelling. And I have no problem with the 60-minute draw finish here. I mean, some people might be like, they're doing all these draws with Danielson, and you need to give Hangman a clean win. Be patient. I think they're going to give Hangman his win. But all this is for me is like a fantastic 60 minutes where they told an amazing story and wrestled this incredibly quality match. And now we get more of it. We get more of it in a couple of weeks. I believe they're going to do this on the TBS launch. That would be the place that it makes the most sense for me to do the rematch. So I have no complaints about this. I thought this was a near perfect match. What do you think?
As someone who is a minister of the Church of the American Dragon and has been for nearly 2 decades, it was like wrestling heaven again. It felt like I was watching ROH back in 2006 again. And Hangman Page absolutely held his own with Danielson. He was fantastic as the babyface in peril, while the American Dragon was wrestling his style and being violent and technical and using every trick he has in his book. And this took me back to Danielson's reign as Ring of Honor World Champion, where he had a few 35, 45-minute matches, and he had a few 60-minute draws. And when the match started, I noticed how they were wrestling, and I tweeted out, a time limit draw is not out of the question here. And when I realized that's what they were going to do, I ended up just feeling like it was absolutely outstanding. I felt like everything about it was just great. The match itself, the wrestling, Hangman selling, Bryan working the crowd. the commentary. I thought Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Taz were really on their game.
They
It
were.
just felt like an entire just fantastic work of pro wrestling from start to finish. It was just really close to perfect. It did get the 5-star seal of approval from Mr. Meltzer, so it did.
Hey,
And yeah, if you have not watched it in full, watch it. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
yeah,
I
you'll
love that
you'll benefit from watching the whole thing. I would say, like, if you just go back and watch the highlights. I mean, I don't know. I just think this whole thing is just mesmerizing. Also, there's that one spot. Did you freak out like I did when Hanger was on the top rope and Danielson just shoved him to the floor as he was climbing on the top rope? That was terrifying.
Yeah.
Ooh.
For me, it was when Hangman flew into the table.
Yeah, that too was brutal. Holy cow.
And also Danielson doing the jumping jacks and really getting the crowd just totally pissed off during the commercial breaks. It was pro wrestling just at its peak. It was just fantastic professional wrestling. And
he's got this tremendous smirk, lopsided smirk that he does. It's so good.
That was the American Dragon that I saw. You know, I just kept saying, that's the American Dragon. That's who he is. And it was fantastic.
Did it make you mad that Daniel Bryan had to exist for like all those years and we missed out on this? Because he wasn't doing this at the Stanford Supermax.
He wasn't. For me, I said after the match, for me and other fans of Bryan Danielson, that was like a reward. That was like, after going through Daniel Bryan and now seeing Bryan Danielson be the excellent pro wrestler that we knew he was, it was just like, we endured that. Here is our reward. This run for Bryan Danielson in AEW right now is a reward for longtime fans of his, getting to see people who may not have been totally savvy on just how talented he is, just saying, this is the guy we've been talking about. This is the guy who we said could have been the face of the largest wrestling company on earth. This is the guy that we told you about. And I've been getting feedback from people saying, oh, so that's the American Dragon. Yes, this is the American Dragon. And it's very rewarding. It's very satisfying.
Just don't think about the, he's a flying goat, Michael. Just don't think about that.
Never again. But also, another thing on this show that I've really enjoyed is the rivalry between Serena Deeb, another favorite of mine, and Hikaru Shida. This is their third match, and this was a real fight, this one. And Shida came out with the win after Deeb's dastardly heel tactics backfired. And this is another one where I could watch these two wrestle each other professionally 5 more times and not get tired of it. I have always been a fan of Serena Deeb. I think she's, until recently, always been super underrated. Of course, she left wrestling for a while, and she's really showing how good she is. And Hikaru Shida is Hikaru Shida. Everyone knows how good she is already. And just like with Paige and Danielson, when you get 2 excellent pro wrestlers together, they find ways to have matches with each other where none of them are the same, but they're all really good. And Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida are doing that, and I'm loving these two.
Yeah, it was tremendous work. I really, like I said on the bonus episode, really happy that the company is creating feuds and long-term storylines for multiple sets of ladies, that don't necessarily have to revolve around the title. I think that's great. I predicted everything wrong on this show, by the way. I thought the Deeb would get the win here, but look, I mean, I'm not upset about it. Like you, I could watch these ladies wrestle certainly again. I think that it was an incredibly smart thing to do to turn Serena Deeb heel because, I don't think that she was like getting over the way a lot of the top baby faces are in the women's division. So turn her heel and let her work with these baby faces that need help, I think, in match structure and need help being, guided to like in any individual match, like their ceiling, their best potential. People like Ty Conti, Hikaru Shida,
like
Britt Baker.
Red Velvet versus Serena Deeb, please.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be tremendous. That'd be great. I mean, Deeb is just such a consummate professional, and I would put her work purely ahead of I think everybody in the company bar Thunder Rosa. I think you could, have an argument there, but like she's just so technically proficient. And she's just a great heel. Like I love her presentation now with the robe and the new makeup and like the sort of cocky attitude. Like I think she's great for that. And she brings out the best in Shida. I think her matches with Shida have been Shida's best matches in a long time. So yeah, more please. This was great.
The one thing that I was disappointed about, but in the very genuine pro wrestling fan way, Dante Martin took on NJF for the Dynamite Diamond Ring, and I'm a big Dante Martin guy, and Darius for that matter. And unfortunately, MJF won because, of course, he did. And just in the very boo kind of way, I was bummed that Dante lost. I was feeling very much like the angry Ms. Girl gif when Dante lost.
This is how I feel about Momo Watanabe. I want her to win every match.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. Like, but he was, in terms of like, if you step back from the purely the fan point of view, and you look at like, look at this match from the workers' point of view and stuff like that. I think this was one of Dante's better, if not his best singles match. I thought it was really, really good. I mean, I don't know, man. MJF, dude, he knows what's up. He's like Suama. He knows what's up. He knows what he's doing. And in the quarter hours, like this match got people back who had left after the very emotional world title match. Like this match really brought people back. And I think both parties, deserve credit. I think Dante is super, super talented, all talent in the world. One day he's going to be a money drawing star, I feel like. But MJF is that now. And he did really great work with Dante here. And I love that he got the diamond ring again. I mean, I love that this has become his thing. This is so he doesn't really, even though he gripes about being in the title picture, because he's got this dynamite diamond ring, he's got a thing that he has won, like he has achieved something. So it's not like he's this guy who's never done anything, but he doesn't necessarily even need to be in a title feud to feel like a big deal. And he's got this diamond ring he's won, so he's done a thing, and he can use it to cheat. I mean, so it all just is this confluence of things where, I don't know, I feel like this was the right move.
Fine. Okay. I like to have seen Dante win.
We love Dante here. We're a very pro Dante. Or what was his? Do you remember his name before he became Dante Martin? I know his brother was Airwolf, right?
Well, they have their names that they use on Twitter. I think
like Angel something.
Yeah, something like that. And the Lucha Angel and Darius is the Airwolf. Top Flight, the coldest tag team in wrestling. That's what they are. The coldest team in the game. Oh man, I'm so ready for Top Flight to come back. They're so good. People have forgotten that Darius is really good too. He's really good. They're both really good.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, I'm so excited.
So let's move on to the next story.
Something you're really excited for, right? You're equally as excited about Top Flight as you are about this next story.
Yes. This was a story that I sniffed out as it was happening in real time. And then the word got out that for their third, quote, Wrestle Kingdom, unquote, show on January 8th, New Japan Pro Wrestling announced that they would be doing a joint show with Pro Wrestling Noah, which got Japanese wrestling fans all excited because, whoa, New Japan and Noah doing a joint show. That's going to be hype as fuck, and we're going to get all sorts of cool dream matches. And the card was announced, and yeah, the card was announced.
The card was indeed announced.
So everybody with the hope of these cool New Japan Noah dream matches, yeah,
Keep dreaming.
it's not really happening.
Oh, man, I allowed myself to get swallowed up in the hype, and I feel like dumb. Like, I feel like I should have seen this coming. You know what I mean? I feel like I was expecting a Dynamite, and we're going to get a Rampage.
Yeah, we are.
And this is not to say, and there's a silver lining to this, because if you watched Rampage, we're recording on the 18th of December. If you watched last night's Rampage, you saw a really fun show. Those huge tag matches ended up being a lot of fun.
Yes.
But it's hard to get excited about like 10, 12-man tags like going into the show.
And
you know,
I will give credit to Rampage for having those tag matches, because the style of wrestling that a lot of those performers do is very conducive to multi-man matches where you can do a lot of things. All of these men and women in AEW are very athletic. They're all very influenced by American independent wrestling, and that is conducive to multi-man matches, multi-person matches. A 10-man tag match between Los Ingobernables de Japón and Congo. You're not going to see a ton of dives and a ton of tag team spots that are really cool. And you're really not going to see that from Go Shiozaki and Masakita Miya versus the House of Torture.
I mean, that's the biggest crime on this card. It's
not even a good version of the House of Torture. It's Dick Togo and Evil.
And look, Dick Togo can go. I mean, we could talk about one day how he's screwing his legacy up. But like, before he came to New Japan this most recent time, I think he was very highly regarded as a good wrestler, someone who could still work. But like, House of Torture Dick Togo is just going to like choke Go Shiozaki with garrote wire. It's going to be terrible. This is going to suck so bad. I'm so mad about it that Go Shiozaki's in this.
Why is he not in the semi-main with Tanahashi and Okada teaming with Kiyomiya instead of goddamn Muto again?
I thought you liked Keiji Muto.
Am I wrong in saying it should be Go Shiozaki?
No, not at all. No, I would love that. But you're going to have Keiji Muto and his little junior clone, Kaito Kiyomiya, who's now dressing up like Keiji Muto instead of, Misawa.
This trios match, Suzuki-gun, Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and Taka Michinoku, who's back from exile, versus the Sugiura Gun faction. And the match that I really wanted was Tomohiro Ishii versus Takashi Sugiura. Because I loved the thought of just two old school tough bastards beating the hell out of each other, Doc.
I know.
And you had Ishii and Sugiura just going at it, just beating the hell out of each other. That to me just sounded great. And that was the match that I wanted. And we're not getting that.
You're getting Sugiura with Taka Michinoku. Oh, he'll have fun spots with Suzuki and Taichi.
And Kenta's in there too, but
we've seen Kenta with all these guys already,
right.
so it's not that interesting.
And Marufuji and Ogawa, the Rat King versus Kanemaru, the OG Noah Jr. and Zack Sabre Jr. That sucks. That sucks.
Oh man. Well, so you don't want to see Ogawa and Zack? I mean, did we ever see that? Was Zack and Noah?
Very briefly. Very briefly.
Okay.
Suzuki-gun, Doki, who I like, and El Desperado versus Los Perros del Mal de Japón. We're doing a bunch of like fake lucha rudos just everywhere in this match.
Okay, where
everybody's going to be cheating, everybody's going to be doing rudo stuff.
Yeah, it really is. It's all rudos. Man, I didn't see that match before. That oops, all rudos. That's fun. That's, I'm kind of into that. I like Yohei, by the way. That's all wrong, guys. Whatever. I mean, he's just going to be raking people's eyes and stuff. But Yohei and Desperado could be fun.
Yeah. And I like Doki.
Yeah, Doki's great.
God, this card sucks.
It's real bad.
I'm just gonna say it. This card sucks.
It is super bad. Compared to what we could get. I mean, will the show be fun? Of course it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. There'll be a lot of nostalgia. Yeah, so like even in these big tags, you're gonna have moments, albeit brief ones, where you have in the ring, Shingo and Kano, or Shingo and Nakajima, Naito and Kano. I mean, those will be little magical pellets.
We've seen Tanahashi and Muto already. We've seen that.
I know, but Kaito Kiyomiya and Okada, that could be that could be a little hot. There's some heat there, man. That could be fun. I'll tell you one of the things I'm disappointed by as someone who, you're a legacy Noah guy. I've tried to, and I'm still doing this, absorb that history. And if you want to do that, by the way, go to your nearest web browser and Google The Ditch All Japan Pro Wrestling. And you too can have a glorious bounty of all of Pro Wrestling Noah from its inception into the mid 2010s.
Noah's Ark. AARK.
Mm-hmm. But I have really become a fan of what Noah is currently. That's kind of what's brought me into it. And the person who I kind of feel a little bit bummed for here is Seiki Yoshioka. He's someone I like an awful lot. He's a junior in Noah. I believe he came over from Wrestle One, although he was sort of a freelancer before that. And despite putting on a bit of muscle in recent times, he's still one of the like I've said, it's between him and Ricky Knight Jr. Fastest people in the ring, fastest, hardest rope hitting, rope running guys. He's great. I'm sad he's sharing a ring with Gato. Although sharing a ring with Taiji Ishimori. You don't like Hayata?
No, I don't. I don't.
He's okay. Is he? I think he's the champion. I think he's the junior champion. Yeah. Champion. He's okay. I mean, so you have the advantage here where you've sort of seen the guy's career. Well, what he's doing currently is fine.
I'll put it this way, Doc. I don't like edgelords in my life.
What? I'm shocked. But you like Lucha Underground.
Yeah, but that was more like Mortal Kombat Supernatural. I'm talking about
the House of Black.
Spooky.
I've said it. Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Okay.
I moved away. I did try and move away. I did not bring it up earlier. I moved away.
I thought you liked the Su Yung undead universe. But I guess that's supernatural. I don't know. All right, here's the litmus test. Do you like Abaddon?
Yeah.
Did I? Oh, but how is this different? Okay, you know what? Maybe we'll hash this out another time. But please continue with your point. You don't like Hayata because looks shindy and wears eye makeup and has a short pant leg.
And he doesn't talk. He has no personality.
You know, I mean, not unfair. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Seiki Yoshioka.
He's goth kid.
He is. He definitely is super gothy.
And
which
he doesn't
can I just say?
Do anything supernatural.
It's a weird fit for Stinger.
He's Tumblr. He's Tumblr goth.
Like, it's really weird that he's like in the same faction as Yoshioka and Ogawa. Like, he just is such an odd fit. But he's champ and he's doing okay work. But I hope Yoshioka gets like a good run in there with Ishimori. Because I really believe in him.
But yeah, Doc, this card sucks.
It does. I'm very Wrestle Kingdom be a letdown, like we thought it would be.
Yeah. Disappointing.
Okay.
The only hope is that maybe, just maybe, this show might be the beginnings of some cross-promotion, inter-promotional angles and feuds. Because if this is just a one-off, this sucks.
From your lips to the wrestling god's ear, my friend.
But let's jump into Pro Wrestling Noah a little bit more.
Okay.
I think that Noah in late 2021 has really had some strong showings. I think we both agree on that. The Keno versus Katsuhiko Nakajima, well, we won't call it a feud, but they've had some matches. I thought the N1 tournament was really good. I think that Go Shiozaki returning from his injuries and from his time off is a real injection of energy that they need. And I still believe in Kaito Kiyomiya. I still do. And I feel like Noah is well set up for 2022, Doc. I really do.
Agreed. And I believe in the talent of Kiyomiya. Just, does Nasawa Rongai believe in the talent of Kaito Kiyomiya? But at these shows that Shiozaki came back for, I forget where the first one was, but he came back for a Korakuen as well. And they did the tag match with him and Kiyomiya versus Kongo's Kano and Nakajima. And just seeing those four guys in the ring, man, it's like, this right here, this is it. This is like the present and the future. In some ways, the past, because Nakajima and Shiozaki have been around forever. But they're still currently, I feel like, as good as the promotion has got. And then you have Kiyomiya and to a lesser extent, Kano. It's like, you have everything here that you need for a top heavyweight division for years to come. And it was just I got a little chill. I mean, it was incredible. And, you talked about the Nakajima Kano matches that they've had this year. We're going to talk more about them in our year-end awards show. I guess it'll be after the first of the year, but we're going to talk about them in our 2021 award show. So I won't go too heavy in on those matches, because I adore those matches. And I think especially the 60-minute draw, I thought was really tremendous. And I think people who were upset by the style of that match were missing the point a little bit in terms of the story. I know people want those guys to go in there and try to kill each other in as fast a time as possible. But, this match was all about Kano's dream of holding the title. So this was less of a personal issue match and more of I want to out wrestle you for this belt so I can be double champ at the Budokan. And then, yeah, I mean, I think the undercard is really strong. I've gotten really, really into the promotion. I mean, all the way down to guys like Kenya Okada, who is confusingly the third Okada. Every promotion has to have an Okada, DJM. I don't know if you knew that. You know, DDT has Yusuke. Kazuchika, of course, is the known one. And then here, Kenya. But he's tremendously talented. He's like kind of coming out of their... I'm not as familiar with their trainee system. So if I say Young Lion, you sort of know what I mean. Like he's ditched the black trunks in recent months. I think he's tremendous. I think a lot of people complain about the junior division and the booking they're in. Rightfully so. It could be confusing keeping up with the 4 factions and, you know, who's in what faction. But like in recent
Dragon Gate.
Yeah, in recent months they haven't really done the betrayal angle too much. And so everyone's kind of stuck where they have been since August, which I think has been fine. And the matches have been good. Sugera-gun is really fun and entertaining. I actually really like, you know, Fujita and Sugiura and Sakuraba. You're not a big Sakuraba guy, but I really like Sakuraba.
I'm hot and cold on him.
Okay. He could look more interested, I think, sometimes.
I feel like when he's on, he's good, but when he's off, you can really tell.
Kendo Kashin is hilarious. He's really great. I think, I mean, Noah, we said this, I think, before Keiji Muto won the title, and that derailed interest for a lot of people. So hopefully they don't go in this sort of direction again. But, you know, with being acquired by Cyber Agent and getting up and running on the new Wrestle Universe and having it be so easy to watch these shows with English commentary, really good English commentary from Stuart Fulton and Mark Pickering, I think they're positioned to, I mean, not only do well domestically next year, but like really make a push and make some inroads in the West. And I mean, if this pandemic continues, I think that they will continue to be the more interesting promotion to watch, because we haven't really got into this discussion, I don't think, DJM, but I think their in-ring style suits, or maybe not suits, but like their in-ring style is better at papering over the fact that crowds can't make noise. The New Japan Epic style, I feel, is so reliant on crowd response and downtime where the crowd can interact with the match. Noah, they just beat the shit out of each other. and they just go hard the whole time, at least in the main event scene.
People wonder why I wanted to see Sugiura versus Ishii.
I know. It's very sad that we're not getting that match.
You can picture that match in your mind.
It would rule. It would be so good. So good. And politics, like Ishii will lose. If you ask Ishii, he will lose. I'm sure it's not about Ishii. I'm sure it's about, you know, Kadani and Gato and the New Japan people not wanting to lose a singles match or whatever. But Ishii would not care. Should let him do this match. For the love of God. Anyway, Noah's great. I'm so happy Go's back.
Yes. And honestly, if the question of who is Noah between Go Shiozaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima, honestly, the answer is both. They've both been a part of Noah forever. That's my opinion. I have no problem with those two headlining at the Budokan for the title.
Oh, it's going to be so good. It's going to be great.
All day.
And I love, I just, the fact that like they use the same catchphrase but in different languages, I feel like is this like thing rich with meaning. And it's so simple, but there's so much there. It's great.
And Noah's legacy is important to me personally, just as a wrestling fan. So I'm glad that both of these guys, in their own way, really respect the legacy of pro wrestling.
Yeah,
Noah.
That's a great point.
Let's wrap up with Ring of Honor. And we'll talk a little bit about Final Battle. And I will say that overall, I was pretty happy with it. I was pretty happy with how Final Battle wrapped up. I like that Ring of Honor emphasized the point to say that we will see you in April, and that was very reassuring, at least to me. It was very reassuring that everything is saying that Ring of Honor is not dead, but it is going on a break for a while. And right now, I'll take that. I'll take that. I think for the most part, all of the right decisions were made on the championship matches. And I think that the title holders are the right names to carry on ROH until they come back.
Dim boys.
And oh man, the Briscoes, God love them. And I'm okay with how all of this went. I'm okay with it.
Good. I'm glad you feel at peace about this. I know this is very important to you, and it's very like fraught, thinking that they could potentially go away. It's still up in the air. I think that you're right. I think they will be back. I think that it will look different. It's going to be more Black Label Pro than Super Indie, but that could be okay. But the name will not go away, and I do think it's interesting, like you said, who's got the titles, and it's cool that they're gonna, I think, go around defending them. I mean, it's cool that Roxy is going to go to Impact and have this thing with Deonna Purrazzo. Love those two performers. Like, that is going to be great. The Dim Boys, the Briscoes, going to have this thing with FTR. They're doing GCW. They're going to have the Ring of Honor titles with them. And they gave the world title to maybe the most deserving guy. And honestly, I'm not glad Bandito got COVID, DJM, but I think Gresham beating Lethal actually, like, from a storyline point of view, is the better match than him just beating Bandito. I love Bandito. The match would have been tremendous. But, like, Gresham and Lethal have been...
There's story there.
There's a lot. Gresham was the understudy for so long, and they were allies and then enemies.
Doc, it's not totally dissimilar from Keno and Nakajima.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's an excellent, excellent point. And, someone who... I don't think, like you were saying with Shiozaki and Nakajima, there's not too many people still around in Ring of Honor, since people like Lethal have moved on, that respect the tradition of ROH, like Jonathan Gresham. And even though he's starting his new promotion, I think there's every chance he could still work for ROH in its newest incarnation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't actually watched the show. I've only read extensively about it. I have read the reviews of the matches definitely exceeded my expectations, especially like the hardcore match, the Shane Taylor.
Yeah. The fight without honor between Shane Taylor, who in my opinion is super underrated, as well as Kenny King, really got high marks. The World Tag Title match got huge marks. It got 4.5 stars from the Observer. And the pure title match with Josh Woods defeating a guy that I'm still not giving up on in Brian Johnson, the Mecca.
He'll be back. I think he'll be back for ROH in April.
By all accounts, just positive marks all around from everything that I saw. And everything said that this is not a goodbye for Ring of Honor. This is a see you later. So I'm going to fantasy book just one match and one match only.
Let's hear it.
Jonathan Gresham is starting his promotion Terminus in Atlanta. What do we say about Bandito getting his title match?
Ooh, that could be really fun. That could be super fun. Yeah, I could be into that.
If I'm Jonathan Gresham, I'm promoting. I'm trying to think like a promoter here. Bandito versus Jonathan Gresham at Terminus for the Ring of Honor World title.
I'd love it. I love it. I can see it. Would you do like a 1-and-1, like drop it at Terminus and get it back at some ROH show, or would you just have the one match?
Doc, since this is the Ring of Honor World title we're talking about, how about a 60-minute draw?
Hey, I love it. I love it. That's tremendous. I'm into it.
Pretty hot on calling my 60-minute time limit draws lately.
Mm-hmm.
I've been plucking out a few time limit draws, so
those guys could. I think those guys could do a pretty good job.
Yeah, Jonathan Gresham having a 60-minute draw on his name, as well as Bandito for the Ring of Honor World title. Yeah, I could see that. Couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant because I've not on this one, but just in general with the time limit draw or the Iron Man match. I mean, I've seen a lot of indie guys and lesser names do this match as a sort of like, look what I can do, or let me just check this off my bucket list. And it doesn't really have what the Noah or the AEW matches have. Doesn't have that soul. It doesn't have the story. Doesn't have the ideas. But I think Gresham and Bandito are talented enough to pull it off for sure.
I think that Jonathan Gresham could do it right now. If there's one guy that I think could, it's Jonathan Gresham. And Bandito is fantastic. It almost has kind of like that Danielson Hangman feel, where one guy could absolutely do it, but the other guy, which I guess would be Bandito, I think I'd like to see that from him too, because he's been a champion everywhere recently.
Yes.
I think they could do it. I really think they could. I would not say no to a time limit draw between Bandito and Jonathan Gresham. And that would be a great way to come back to Ring of Honor. That would be some history there. Like and whenever Ring of Honor does come back, that would be one to go with. You have the time limit draw in Terminus, and then whenever Ring of Honor comes back, you've got a world title match.
Do you think FTR will hold the Ring of Honor tag team titles?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Because I think that the Briscoes are very hot right now. And
yeah,
I think that you have the Briscoes come in hot and you dump them right into the tag team picture, and you could have some really good stuff with them.
Man, if they go to AEW, dude.
Oh, I think it's all pretty much. I think it's only a matter of time.
I know they'll do this thing with Cash and Dax. Do you think they're gonna? I don't know if it's set in stone that they're gonna sign, but if they did, man, oh my goodness, it'd be so sick.
AEW, man,
it would be so great. We've talked about how much that would rule. All the pre-tapes and everything, like it would just be great. It'd be so good. Gosh.
Agreed. Okay, Doc, I think we've covered all that we need to cover on this episode. So you are more than welcome to take it home, my friend.
All right. I will do that. DJM, thank you so much, as usual, for chatting with me about the Graps. If people want to find you on Twitter and talk to you more about wrestling, how would they do that?
You can do that on Twitter at CallMeDJM. My name is David, but you can call me DJM. We can talk pro wrestling, we can talk Star Trek, we can talk music, because I do podcasts for all of those. Yes, we can still talk anime if you want to do that too. Yes, we can. I do still enjoy anime every now and then. But you can do all of that on Twitter at CallMeDJM, because I tweet a lot. Because I like having conversations with people. I'm a multi-fandom podcaster, so please, at Call Me DJM. The Subtle Doctor, tell everyone what you've got going on.
So you can hit me up at The Subtle Doctor on Twitter. No spaces, no caps necessary. I also do an anime podcast, and rather than spell it out or pronounce it, I think if you just go to my Twitter bio, you can get the @ there and the links. But that podcast is sort of expanding to be anime and also other media. We have recently done a podcast on some movies I think that you enjoy. I certainly do, on Batman Mask of the Phantasm and Into the Spider-Verse, kind of comparing those movies. And that was a lot of fun. That's worth your listen. And another pod, kind of a general media pod, the Media Missile Circus, on a bit of a hiatus, but that is still there for you. There's a backlog of episodes on things like Neon Genesis Evangelion and The Legend of Korra that I am proud of, and I think me and Anime News Network's James Beckett did fine work on. But yeah, check out all of our related things, all the DJM and Doc multiverse, if you will. But that's going to do it then for episode 6. This has been the Open Door Wrestling Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed, and until next time, everybody, peace.